All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for grabbing a seat. With this, I'm going to turn it over to our masters of ceremony today, the one and only, which I think everybody, particularly in this room, but if you don't know him, you will get to know him today, our regional administrator, dear friend, Mr. Mike Fong.
Well, good morning, everybody. So I want to start with something that I think this room will be very familiar with, and I saw it happen in Idaho when I was in town in Boise just a couple weeks ago. But nothing like kicking off an event with this many friends in the room than with a group selfie, and then for all of you to get up and we're going to do 2 minutes of quick selfies, get them out of the way right away. Hashtag WHIAANHPI, hashtag Seattle City Hall, whatever works, National ACE. But let's get a quick selfie with everybody right now and get this done, and then that way we can focus on the program the rest of the day. So everybody on your feet, everybody look this way, take pictures with each other. All right, here we go.
All right, everybody join in. All right, 1, 2.
Here we go.
All right. I see you in the back there. Hang on, we're gonna do another one there. All right.
Big wave,
fantastic,
everybody.
fantastic.
Okay,
all right, hang on.
All
right, one more. All right, yes, one more. Everybody look this way. Everybody stand up.
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, and 3.
All right.
Fantastic.
All right, that'll work. Thank you, everybody. Well, good morning, and welcome to Seattle City Hall. Welcome to Seattle. I know we have lots of friends here from Washington, D.C., but I also know that even regionally we have folks that have traveled from Portland and the Yakima Valley, and I know I met someone from San Francisco today. So it really is a regional convening, and really excited that so many of you can join us, and also by extension all the folks watching us online, and then for all the folks that you touch in your communities after today's event. So thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us. So it is my honor, and today I'm wearing 2 hats. As Ben introduced me, I am Mike Fong, SBA's Regional Administrator for the Pacific Northwest. So I oversee our field operations in Washington State, Idaho, Oregon, and Alaska, home to 1.3 million small businesses. And it's been an incredibly rewarding year plus that I've been in this role. But today I'm also standing in for some of our friends from DC as representative for the White House initiative for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. And it's a great honor for our city to host one of 8 economic summits that WHIAANHPI is hosting in the White House across the country. And of course, this is the best one, but you know, and I know we're joined by many both appointed and elected officials. We have community leaders. We have small business owners. And I'm just really excited to be able to get everyone together here at City Hall, People's Hall, to have great conversation around so many different conversations, both on the community side, community resources for organizations, but also what we've really wanted to do under the Biden administration to really leverage the power of all of government together in a way to make sure we are putting our best foot forward to not just invest in America, but invest in all of you. And the AA and NHPI community is such a crucial community to both not just our community here in the greater Seattle area, but all across the country for economic prosperity and growth. And just really excited that WHIAANHPI has chosen us as one of the cities to have this conversation. And I'd just like to recognize the team from DC and our WHIAANHPI friends for picking Seattle as an economic summit location. So thank you. Now, just a few acknowledgments. The White House's initiative and under the president's direction reconstituted WHIAANHPI and reestablished this in May of 2021 and created the President's Advisory Commission. Both entities co-chaired by members of the President's Cabinet, including Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra and U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Catherine Tai. They're tasked with a really ambitious goal and vision, really, to center equity in the work that we're doing, with a particular focus around the AA and NHPI community, especially given the challenges coming out of the pandemic, some of the challenges associated with Asian hate that we continue to experience and the lingering effects to this day. But all of that to say that we also have incredible local representation at the national level on the commission, including today here in this room. I know I saw from our hometown, Commissioner Teresita Batayola is here. I know Commissioner Grace Fong was going to be here as well. Is she? There she is. And then we're also very honored to be joined by another member of the commission. Let me see here. Ajay is here, right here. There he is. Great. Thank you for joining us from California today, correct? So great. It's great to have you. So in addition to our commissioners, we have a number of folks in the room representing members of our congressional delegation, Senator Murray's office, and I know I saw folks from Congresswoman Strickland's office, Congressman Adam Smith, and others. Actually, if you're representing a member of our delegation, if you could just stand up just to be acknowledged really quickly, that way folks know you're in the room and know where to find you. Thank you. And then I want to also acknowledge co-chairs of our regional, both our regional network for WHIAANHPI, but also our national co-chairs for this effort. I know Ben and Paul are in the room. Ben, you've met already. Paul was taking photos. So if you guys can stand up or just wave to everybody, we'll make sure folks know that you're here. And then our regional network representatives, Stephen Yim and Davis Jen, I don't know if they're in the room or not, but again, the big thanks to them for their efforts locally as well. Great. So I, again, want to emphasize that, throughout the day, really please take advantage of the opportunity, not just from our federal and state and local resource partners to engage around the topics that are so important to all of you in community, but also for your small businesses in terms of growth and expansion and your ideas and thoughts going forward. Whether you're launching a new small business or are looking to expand your existing operation, really take advantage of not only the government resources of the room through the conversations we're going to have, but also the networking opportunity. It's not often that we can have so many people from both nonprofit and private sector and government together, philanthropy, to be able to serve as a resource to meeting your goals and vision for what you want to accomplish in your communities, but also be a force multiplier for all of us in terms of what you learned today or who you meet today to bring back to your communities and engage as many folks as possible. We are really trying to leverage the opportunity here today to meet community where they are and be able to bring resource to you in the most effective and direct way possible. So, and just a few data points. In Washington State, we have 65,000 AA and NHPI owned small businesses. This is up from roughly 45,000 just 5 years ago. So over 35% growth in just 5 years. And it really is a testament to the creativity, the innovation, the passion of small business ownership across our state. And that level of growth has been twice as fast as the overall small business growth in the state of Washington. So again, take advantage of today's conversations and let's keep growing the economy, but also growing jobs and opportunity in our region and all across Washington. So with that, I want to go ahead and we're going to start the day with, first of all, Shayna from Senator Murray's office as a greeting from the senator. And I'm going to go and ask her to come up and read that letter from Senator Murray. So thank you. Please welcome Shayna from Senator Murray's office.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning. I promise I'm going to be brief. You're probably going to hear that, but it will be true today. So this is a letter from Senator Murray. While I'm sorry I cannot join in person, I want to thank everyone who worked so hard to organize this event. I'm proud to say that Washington State has a thriving small business community and strong local economies across the state, and so much of that is thanks to the contributions of our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. Events like these are an important reminder that when we work to expand opportunities for everyone, we all do better. I know the past few years have been tough, which is why I worked nonstop from the very outset of the pandemic to make sure resources were getting to the communities that needed help the most. Whether it was access to COVID testing and the vaccine, to ensuring that SBA prioritized relief dollars for small and minority-owned businesses, it was an all-hands-on-deck effort to make sure our small businesses not only kept their doors open, but could come back stronger than ever. We made great progress, but there's so much more to do. And whether that's delivering on a comprehensive national paid leave program or making childcare affordable for every family, I'm focused on key economic issues that will support every small business owner. I will also keep working with the Biden-Harris administration to ensure all small businesses, especially in the AA and NHPI communities, have access to the tools and resources they need to be successful, from expanding language access across federal programs, prioritizing equity in the grant-making process across agencies, expanding outreach and engagement to AA and NHPI communities, and more. I'm so thankful to each and every one of you for the work you do to partner with our state and local leaders to make sure we're all doing everything we can to help our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander small businesses succeed in Washington State. And while I'm fighting for you over in that other Washington, I look forward to coming home to the better Washington and seeing you all as soon as possible. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Shayna, and thank you, Senator Murray. So we're going to go ahead and turn to a quick video from Congresswoman Jayapal, who couldn't be here today, but was able to send a video for us, a short video. But I also want to acknowledge, again, another partner in today's endeavor, and that's the great work the National ACE does on behalf of the AA and NHPI community all across the country. You'll hear from Tong in a bit, but I wanted to quickly acknowledge National ACE's role in today's event and also thank them for their incredible leadership. Thank you. Okay, Annika?
I'm Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, and I'm honored to represent Washington's 7th Congressional District in the House of Representatives, where I also serve as the chair of the Progressive Caucus. Thank you to the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders for inviting me to share a few words with you today. You could not have picked a better place for your annual economic summit than our great city of Seattle. As the first South Asian American woman ever elected to Congress, I am keenly aware of how critical it is that diverse voices have a seat at the table, and I'm so grateful to represent a community that values both Asian American and NHPI small businesses and culture. Last month, I joined our local Chamber of Commerce to tour local businesses and had the opportunity to stop by many AA and NHPI-owned spots. It is always incredible to see how diverse businesses leave their mark on our community. I am very grateful to the Biden-Harris administration for lifting up diverse voices and prioritizing AA and NHPI communities. They've taken stronger steps to stop Asian hate, expand language access across federal programs, increase diversity in the federal workforce, and invest in our communities. There is always more work to be done, but we've made progress. And I thank the administration for enacting the first ever national strategy to advance equity, justice, and opportunity for AA and NHPI communities. Here in Congress, we've been proud to be partners in that fight by passing the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, and so much more. We've been on the front lines of the fight to ensure that we make major investments into small businesses and communities across the country. So thank you so much for having me and for the hard work that you are all doing to lift up diverse voices and support AA and NHPI communities. Please know that whenever you need a champion in Congress, I'm here and ready to stand with you.
And thank you to Congresswoman Jayapal for that greeting. Now I'm going to bring up our next speaker. And true to form, we're already 15 minutes behind schedule, so we're we're right on, right as planned, exactly. So I'm going to bring up my good friend Toshiko Hasegawa, who is Executive Director for the Washington State Commission for Asian Pacific American Affairs and also Commissioner for the Port of Seattle. Toshiko, here you go.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, beautiful community. My name is Toshiko Hasegawa. I am Vice President of the Port of Seattle Commission. I am also Executive Director of Washington State's Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. And so I'm so pleased this morning to extend my welcome on behalf of the Port, CAPA, and Governor Jay Inslee. And I'd like to thank WHIAANHPI for coming back to the Emerald City here in the Evergreen State for the Economic Summit. As you know what, there are 3 microphones happening here, so I'm just gonna turn this one off and put that over there. As one of the primary points of entry for AA and NHPIs into the United States and home to some of the most diverse zip codes and school districts in the nation, I think that Washington State has a really important role to play in the national conversation. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank the members of our federal delegation and the representatives who are here today, because you make us so proud every single day representing everyday people while you do your work in Congress. And in the past year, there have been unprecedented, meaningful investments at the federal, state, and local level to rebuild our country's infrastructure, industries, and our workforce. And so now we all need to be laser focused on making sure that the rising tide of our recovery is going to lift everybody's ships. So this morning, I would just like to frame the ensuing conversation with some foundational knowledge about AA and NHPI community demography, because the trends that we observe here in Washington State are a microcosm for what we're observing nationwide. And at CAPA, we feel that data, when it's good and disaggregated, can illuminate both the magnitude and the complexity of our community's needs. According to CAPA's report based on 2020 census data and supplemented by 2020 American Community Survey data, Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities, alone or in combination with another race, have grown by about 40.76%, from about 675,000 people in 2010 to almost 950,000 people in 2020. So at this rate, ANHPIs as a conglomerate will be the primary minority population in just a matter of a couple years. We also found that statewide, 12.6% of NHPIs and 9.2% of the Asian population live below poverty. Though there are some deeply disconcerting outlier counties in Washington State, for example, in Whitman County, 94.8% of the NHPI population lives below poverty. Filipino, Korean, Vietnamese, Cambodian, and all Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander ethnic groups earn less than whites per capita income. And in every single Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander ethnic group, women made less than their male counterparts, with Asian women earning roughly 52 cents to the dollar of Asian males, and NHPI women earning 66 cents to the dollar of NHPI males. So unfortunately, racial and gender disparities are not new. And at the state, we have deployed strategies and programs to address inequities and operationalize anti-racism. We have insights from structured interviews and listening sessions held with AA and NHPI business owners struggling from the compounding impacts, as Mike mentioned, of the shutdown, anti-Asian racism, and vandalization. And we've also developed tools to be able to equip them with resources To name just one of those resources, at Washington State, we now have Department of Commerce's Small Business Resiliency Network, whereby community-based organizations themselves provide technical support to minority businesses in a culturally specific way. And the feedback has been tremendous. Everyone here today comes to the table with insights and lessons learned to share. So I'm just going to leave you with a quote that I heard from a Pinay auntie who was organizing against human trafficking. She was speaking at an event in Tagalog through a translator, and what she said stuck with me. Economic empowerment leads to social justice. We have our work cut out for us, and I wish you all the very best for a meaningful program ahead. I'd now like to bring up my good friend and colleague, Port of Seattle President and CAPA Commissioner, Sam Cho.
I'm going to be the contrarian here and use this mic. This is working, right? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, Commissioner Hasegawa, for the introductions. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Great. My name is Sam Cho, President of the Port of Seattle Commission. First and foremost, I would just like to take a moment to thank the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders for choosing to bring their economic summit to our little corner of the country. I don't need to tell this audience this, but here in the Pacific Northwest, we take great pride in having a strong entrepreneurial spirit. From Microsoft to Amazon, Boeing to Nike, Starbucks to Nordstrom's, the Pacific Northwest is home to some of the most innovative companies in the world. And while the companies I just listed may be massive Fortune 500 companies, oftentimes we forget that every one of these companies started out as a small business. As the president of the Port of Seattle Commission, I have the great privilege of leading the largest economic development agency in our region. And I'm proud to say that one of our highest priorities as an agency is to promote women or minority-owned businesses, or WHIMBYs. People often forget that the Port has a massive opportunity that could catapult small businesses to their next level of growth. For instance, did you know that between the years of 2021 and 2022, the Port of Seattle awarded 316 contracts totaling $123 million to minority-owned businesses. When it comes to our airport, dining and retail, 34% of our airport contracts are directly with WHIMBY businesses. Those WHIMBY business contracts account for $136 million in total revenue. That accounts for 36% of total airport dining and revenue. That's just on the airport dining and retail side. Despite these big numbers, we at the Port of Seattle have ambitious goals to triple the number of WHIMBY business participation. But the reality is that we can't do it without you. One of the most common excuses that I hear for not having more WHIMBY businesses is, Commissioner, there's simply not enough WHIMBY businesses out there. Well, I know that this community can show them what's up. Whether you are a restaurant owner or a general contractor, we need you in the pipeline of WHIMBY businesses that are willing and able to work with the Port of Seattle. This is especially crucial as the Port of Seattle embarks on a historic level of spending. $5.3 billion in capital projects over the next 5 years. Later today, you'll hear in one of our breakout sessions from our very own Director of Diversity and Contracting, Mian Rice, on all the different ways that you can think about working with us at the Port. And as you'll learn from Mian, it's not easy to do business with the Port. But we are willing, ready, and able to provide you with the assistance you need to be successful as a WHIMBY business partner with the Port of Seattle. Not only are we working to promote WHIMBY businesses at the Port, but because we are a port, we're also working to help promote small businesses in exporting to international markets beyond our region. In fact, we are working in partnership with the U.S. Small Business Administration, Greater Seattle Partners, the City of Seattle, and the Washington State Department of Commerce to develop an export accelerator program that will help small businesses find new markets internationally and sell their products abroad. As a Port Authority, this is a service offering that we can provide given our expertise in supply chain and logistics. As a former business owner and a exporter myself, I may have a little bit of a bias towards this, promoting this program. But look, on a more serious note, it's been a tough 3 years for our community. You all know, as well as I do, that the COVID-19 pandemic and the anti-Asian hate has disproportionately hurt AA and NHPI businesses, which is why I am so grateful for the Biden-Harris administration and the keen attention they are paying to our community. But I'm also grateful for you, for taking the time out of your day to be here with us in this moment. I'm sure many of you have your own businesses to run right now. And most importantly, I hope that this time together allows you to not only learn more about the resources that are available to you to grow your businesses, but also serves as a rare opportunity for you to voice your opinions, your concerns, and yes, even your complaints to these DC swamp creatures that have come to visit us. And I can say that because I used to be a DC swamp creature myself. And let me just say this, I can personally endorse with many of these visitors here from DC being good friends and former colleagues of mine, that they will take your voice back to the White House and fight for you. So thank you again for being here. Thank you to the White House Initiative for being here. And I'm wishing everyone a fruitful economic summit. Thank you. Oh, actually. And with that, I'd like to now introduce someone who really doesn't really need an introduction, but at least in the AAPI business community, but I'd like to go ahead and introduce the President and CEO of National ACE, Tong.
Thank you for your remarks. My name is Tong. I'm from Washington, D.C. I hope I don't look like a swamp creature to you. National Asian Pacific Islander American Chamber of Commerce, called National ACE. We represent 2.65 million AAPI small business owners and entrepreneurs, and we have 120 affiliate AAPI chambers and partners throughout the country, and I have seen many of them here. Greater Seattle Chinese Chamber of Commerce, Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, and also other partners. Thank you so much for bringing, the attendees. Thank you so much for coming this event. It means a lot to us. I really want to thank Mike. Thank you to put good show, and also with WHIAANHPI staff, Monica, under the leadership of Crystal Kai. I tell you, in Washington, D.C., the people like Erica Morosugo, Crystal Kai, they are working so hard for our community, and we really, really appreciate their good efforts. And Mike, thank you for putting this good show with SBA staff, Ben Raji, Paul Chen, from Department of Labor, and all the federal agency. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. They have worked very, very hard on this. We want to use this opportunity for AA and NHPI entrepreneurs to have access to capital, access to contracting opportunities, and collaborate with the federal and local state government. On behalf of the entire AAPI business community, we just want to thank Biden-Harris administration. They have done so much for us. And this is the third White House Economic Summit put by WHIAANHPI and SBA. The first one was in Philadelphia, the second one was in Chicago, and third one, I'm sure this will be the best one because of all of you. And WHIAANHPI has developed a national strategy for the groundbreaking for AA and NHPI community. So this is like a very, very critical policy issue, as Congresswoman Jayapal mentioned about, because this, we are talking very important policy, such as data disaggregation, language accessibility. And I know all of you are very care about this important issues. So during the discussion, if you have any concern, if you have any issues, please bring to the officials, and they will be bringing back to the White House for you. And we look forward to some wonderful and insightful session today for all this important discussion. And also, I want to use this opportunity to thank our corporate partners who helped to host the lunch today, such as Meta, Walmart, Bank of America, and most importantly is Wells Fargo. Ruby Sapero was with me. Ruby, will you please wave your hands? Where are you? Thank you. We were at the White House at SBA Small Business, SBA's Women Business Summit, hosted by the White House and also SBA. And President Biden was here. He was so pleased to see so many great female small business owners. And I just want to let you know, you can see their effort. You probably don't have time to go to the White House, but they bring the White House to you, to Seattle. So let's thank them. And now I would like to have Mike Fong, my hero, the community leader and regional administrator of SBA, to continue the program. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Chi-Ling, and again, thank you for everything that National ACE does on behalf of our community. So before I introduce our next speaker, I also want to acknowledge and something that every speaker has really either directly addressed or indirectly, which is just how important representation is for the community. And earlier today, I saw Mayor Sofia Aragon in the room. So Mayor, good to see you. Thank you. And I also saw School Board Director Vivian Song Merritts. So good to see you. Thank you for being here, Seattle School Board. And I don't know if I missed anyone else, but I want to make sure that we acknowledge our current elected officials there in the room, and we'll be joined by a few others later today as well. So did I miss anybody? I think we're good. Okay, so it's a great honor for me to introduce our keynote speaker today. Nani Coloretti is here. There she is. So Nani is Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget for President Biden. She is also the most senior ranked Filipino American in the Biden-Harris administration. And we are very fortunate to have her here today with us. She's a national leader on AA and NHPI issues. She has been a veteran of not only federal government service, both at OMB, but also at HUD and Treasury and elsewhere. But most importantly for me, as a local government guy, Nani has her roots in local government as well in her time in the city of San Francisco, as budget director, as policy director. And I think that local experience is just so crucial because she understands the issues that communities like ours face in the city of Seattle, but really up and down the entire West Coast. And we're really fortunate for her to share a few words with us today. And please take advantage of the time that she has with us here in Seattle, because she, as many have already mentioned, is not only an incredible voice for our community, but is a national leader and can carry our issues and interests back to Washington, D.C. So Deputy Director Coloretti, thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike. That was such a kind introduction. And I did, when I walked into this city hall, I was like, this city hall is really different from San Francisco City Hall, which is where I spent a good 6 years and 10 years in the city and county of San Francisco. It is so modern and beautiful and just reminds me of Seattle. So I love this city, and it's just such an honor to be here today. So let me just first start out by saying thank you. Thank you to the teams at WHIAANHPI who are organizing this and who are organizing this across the country. Thank you to Mike and the Small Business Administration, to the Department of Treasury, to OSDBU, to all the members of the federal family who are here. Thank you to National ACE, such an important community partner for us. And thank you to the city of Seattle for organizing this, for letting us be here, for inviting me to be here today and share a few words. So this summit is in direct response to recommendations coming from, as Mike mentioned, the President's Advisory Commission on Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. And I was so happy to walk in and find this card. I don't know if you got it, but I've already scanned and checked the links and everything, and everything you need to know is in here about this commission. It's made up of 25 members, leaders, some of whom are here today, who reflect the rich diversity of the AA and NHPI community throughout the United States. And this commission released the first ever national strategy, and your Congresswoman talked about it a little bit, at the beginning of this year. In the effort to do research about this strategy, one of the issues outlined that the commission and our advisors kind of advised us about was this data point that I want to share with you. Approximately 10% of small businesses in the US are owned by AA and NHPI, AA and NHPIs, but only 2.8% of federal contracting dollars went to the AA and NHPI small businesses in fiscal year 2020. So this convening is part of what was recommended in response to this. It's going to be 8 of these across the country. This is the third one, the third economic summit, and that's why we're here today. So I'm really just honored to be a part of this event and to be featured alongside of all of the community leadership that I see here today. So I come from an agency that you might not have heard of. It's called the Office of Management and Budget, and I'm currently the Deputy Director. This office is the largest part of the White House, so I come to you from the White House, and the President has called this office the Nerve Center of Government. Erica Mortsugu has called it the Nerd Center of Government because we deal with not just the budget, but with the management of government. We deal with procurement policy, which you'll be learning more about procurement today. And we implement a lot of different presidential initiatives out of the Office of Management and Budget. It's the largest part of the executive offices of the president. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're working on. And as Mike mentioned, I come to you as the highest ranking Filipina American in the Biden-Harris administration. Thank you. I just want to say, I was also the highest ranking Filipina in the Obama administration, so I think we need, no, what I mean by that is we need more Filipinos in the federal government because let's get some more in there. So I grew up in Hawaii, and I made my way to the mainland, as we call it over there, for college and graduate school, and ultimately to this job. And it's just thanks to the hard work of my parents, my grandparents, and my entire community, and just the support of my community to do the work that I do and do the work that I've been doing my entire career. I also come to you as someone who got to see small business in action. My mom was a home-based childcare provider, and she wanted to open up her own childcare center. She had worked for many years in a high-quality childcare center. She wanted to open up her own because she had a vision to just create a place that served children on a smaller scale, and she did that really well for about 25 years. So I just want to say that's why I'm really glad to be here today, because I just know personally that growing small businesses, it grows the economy, it supports families, it creates jobs. So I was asked to come here and talk about the work we're undertaking at the federal level and at OMB to advance equity, grow the economy, and reflect the needs of the AA and NHPI communities. So the first natural place for me to start is the federal budget. So the president's budget is much more than a book of agencies and numbers and dollars. The budget provides a statement of values and policy for the Biden-Harris administration. It sets forth a template as to how we can invest in our communities and our families, from housing to healthcare to education and more. The budget contains investments and policies that touch the lives of every American and have key impacts for families, businesses, and communities. So 3 weeks ago, we released the president's fiscal year 2024 budget, which is built on the president's commitment to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out rather than the top down. So President Biden's economic plan has already produced historical results for the American people. Under the president's leadership, we've added 12.4 million jobs, more jobs added in 2 years than any president has created in a 4-year term. And accordingly, the unemployment rate has fallen to 3.6%, which is near record lows. So in addition to that, we've already taken action to lower prescription drug costs, health insurance premiums, and energy bills, and while driving the healthcare uninsured rate to historic lows. The president's economic plan is also rebuilding American infrastructure, promoting workers, and fueling a manufacturing boom that's strengthening parts of the economy that have long been overlooked and left behind. The FY24 budget that we just released builds on this progress, and it details a roadmap to finish the job. It's built around 4 key values: investing in America, lowering costs for families, protecting Medicare and Social Security, and reducing the deficit. And it does all of this while ensuring that no one making under $400,000 a year pays a penny more in taxes. It will lower costs for working families, including for health insurance, childcare, prescription drugs, housing, college, energy, and much more, while at the same time protecting and strengthening Medicare and Social Security, which are benefits that seniors have paid into, as you know, their entire working lives. And the budget will continue to invest in America and in working families by boosting American manufacturing, providing for national paid leave, and making our communities safer. So we think this is the right way to continue to grow our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. What I additionally want to talk about, though, is to highlight just a number of the specific provisions in our proposed budget that will benefit the AA and NHPI communities and small businesses, including those aimed at narrowing the racial wealth gap and increasing economic opportunity. So some of these highlights include an increase of $110 million to the capacity of the Minority Business Development Agency. That's one of the federal agencies that will be here today and participating in today's sessions, to establish new regional offices, support initiatives to foster economic resilience, and to bolster and expand services provided to minority-owned businesses through the Business Center program and rural business centers. The budget is also proposing to establish a new permanent Assistance to Indigenous Communities program at the Department of Commerce's Economic Development Administration, or EDA sometimes called. This is a new $20 million program that will focus solely on the economic development needs of Indigenous communities, including Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. The budget, I know, woohoo! The budget includes $341 million. It's an increase of $341 million for the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, sometimes called CDFIs, which provide historically underserved and low-income communities access to credit, to capital, and financial support to grow businesses, increase affordable housing, and reinforce healthy neighborhood development. And I could just say, as my 10 years working in San Francisco, that that is really the truth. CDFIs are a big partner to local government and small businesses and to the community to do all of those things. Yeah. It's hard work, too, really hard work. The budget includes increased funding to strengthen language access services, to promote meaningful access to government programs, services, and benefits for individuals with limited English proficiency. That's a key pillar of the national strategy that I mentioned before. The budget also increases by $62 million, so it's over $252 billion, $252 million for the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. These resources would support police reform via pattern or practice investigations, the prosecution of hate crimes, enforcement of voting rights, and efforts to provide equitable access to justice. And the budget also increases resources for the Census Bureau within the Department of Commerce. That will be for research and design work on the 2030 census, focused on better reaching and engaging historically undercounted populations, including Asian Americans and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders. So we know that investments like these are very important to reach diverse populations and to make our country stronger. but we're not waiting to pass the FY 2024 budget to make progress on these issues. So I want to take a moment to share with you what we're actually doing today to make measurable progress to advance policies that promote equity, reduce barriers to accessing federal services and programs, and build the capacity of AA and NHPI communities. So as you might know, since day one, President Biden has focused on a whole of government approach to advancing equity for underserved communities. We call that the Equity Executive Order, and we've released 2 of those now, and those are also online if you want to see them. And this really tries to address equity through agency policies, programs, and service delivery. So where I'm at, Office of Management and Budget, we co-lead this effort across the White House to hold agencies accountable for results, and we are starting to see some meaningful progress. We've seen more agencies commit to broader language access so that people can interact with the federal government in multiple languages. And just 2 months ago, we've released this national strategy, first ever strategy, to promote safety and equity for Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islander communities. And again, just check it out, it's right here. It's super awesome. The strategy is basically the inaugural report from WHIAANHPI to the president, and it includes action plans from 32 federal agencies. It builds on the administration's broader equity agenda, and it details the much needed investments in AA and NHPI communities and priorities. So that's why I keep referring to it, because it talks about what we want to do, and it also talks about what we have been doing, so that you don't have to wait for a budget to pass to know what we're working on already. Also at OMB, we co-lead something called the Equitable Data Working Group. And we helped develop a vision for equitable data to make disaggregated data the norm across government while also protecting privacy. We talked about this a little earlier today. Why should we care about disaggregated data? Particularly for the AA and NHPI community, we know that if we can't serve the community well, if we can't see the community. So we know that the aggregated data of AA and NHPI communities often obscure significant disparities between subgroups. So I'll just give you one example that was pretty compelling to me. Total cancer rates for AA and NHPIs are on average lower than non-Hispanic whites. However, disaggregated data shows that the rate of liver cancer for Laotian women is more than 9 times higher than non-Hispanic white women. So it's only by pulling this data apart, by disaggregating it, that we can uncover the problems that we're trying to solve and work on them more effectively. So finally, I want to highlight the ways in which we're leveraging the federal government's position as the largest consumer of goods and services in the world to build wealth for marginalized communities through federal contracting and procurement opportunities. So in the first year of the administration, the federal government awarded $62 billion in contracts to small disadvantaged businesses, including minority and women-owned businesses. And we're on track to reach our target of increasing the share of federal contracting dollars to these businesses by 50% by the year 2025. And in 2021, and I actually got this data from Mike, a speech that he gave, or a blog that you gave, so I'll just quote you, Mike. In 2021, the federal government purchased more than $25 billion of goods and services from companies based in the Pacific Northwest, with $8.5 billion of that going to small businesses. So this is a very important region to help reach our goals of increasing the share of federal procurement to small disadvantaged businesses. So this commitment is sustained, and it is coming directly from the president's commitment to small businesses, grown right here in America. And as was mentioned earlier, just earlier this week, the president gathered Small Business Administration's second annual Women's Business Summit. So he gathered a bunch of small business owners into the White House, where he announced a whole bunch of new measures to support women-owned small businesses. So I am just thrilled to be here, to be part of this effort. I'm humbled by the work that you are doing every day. And I'm also just thrilled to work alongside of all the leadership that we talked about in the White House, across agencies and in Congress. And we can't do any of this without the input and engagement of leaders in the community like all of you, which is why today is so important. And I'm glad you're here. And I hope you stay for all of the fantastic sessions that are planned. And I just want to kind of leave you with a quote from President Biden, which he said earlier this week. He said that small businesses are the engine of our economy. They're the glue and the heart and the soul of our communities. So I hope that this economic summit provides you more ways to connect to the federal government and its resources. And I just want to say thanks for inviting me here today.
Great, thank you, Deputy Director Coloretti. How about one more round of applause for Deputy Director?